My name is Ryan Barnhouse. I am studying exercise and sports science. I'm currently in the 3+2 high altitude exercise physiology grad program, and I have minors in both biology and chemistry. So in high school, I was a football player and I hurt my knee, and I ended up seeing a physical therapist to help the recovery of my knee, and I thought for a while that's what I wanted to do. So I initially got interested in exercise and sports science.
My first year back here at Western in 2013, my chair at the time, Kathleen Kinkema, gave us all a book called Teaching Naked to read and think about how that could change our pedagogy. And one of the philosophies in that book was to identify real-world problems and then in your courses come up with assignments and projects were aimed at solving those real-world problems and let them recognize that they are making a difference. So in our field of exercise and sports science, I've already talked about a couple examples of we have a problem with sitting too much. We can do something about that. We can do something about that here and now.
Yeah, so Dr. Dalek and I's relationship really started. I became passionate about this project. My second semester here at Western of my first year, my goal was to implement standing desks and active workstations into classrooms on campus. Because a professor of mine at the time, he talked about sedentary behavior and how unhealthy it is for anybody to be sedentary so long throughout the day. So my thought was, why don't we have standing desks or active workstations around campus? So I worked with a senior at the time, and we wrote a proposal for a grant, and Dr. Dalek helped advise that, and we received $4,000 to put standing desks and active workstations around classrooms on campus.
Ryan likes the Avengers. And we sometimes make analogies between Star Wars and the Avengers and what we're learning in exercise physiology, and it makes it kind of fun. And I sort of joke that Ryan has this super serum that made him grow and mature academically a lot quicker than the usual individual. And yeah, and he just gets it, and he's just got this compassion and empathy for his fellow students, for his fellow humans, and I think that's really what's driving it.
So the biggest lesson that I've learned from Dr. Dalek over the past 4 years is that support is the root of mentorship. And support can come in all different shapes and sizes, and that's seen through mine and Dr. Dalek's relationship over the past couple of years. He supported me in those conversations that we had, when he was advising me writing this grant proposal, or the conversations that we had when I had questions about this graduate program that I'm now a part of. But support also looks like him thinking of me in those months where we wouldn't have conversations. It was a couple of months since we last chatted when he sat me down, thought of me for this position at the hospital. And that's something that I've been able to take into my role as a peer mentor on campus, being able to show support to my mentees, being able to show support to the other mentors in the program. And it's also something that I'll be able to take into my future, working in the health field moving forward.
The award, really is about, what's the impact the student has had. Ryan's not just done a standing desk project. He's also done cardiac rehabilitation. He's also a peer mentor. He's also going to be doing, and we've been working on doing a project to help with the mental health of our students as his thesis project.
Dr. Dalek, thank you so much. I really think that these past 4 years would not have been as much of a growing experience for me if it wasn't for our relationship. And then also in my future, I'm sure I'll be looking to you for more mentorship and more advice. So thank you for everything.
Hi, my name is Olivia Murphy-Walconish. I am a senior from Boulder, Colorado, and I'm studying psychology and philosophy. Psychology is just something that stuck out as something that interests me, and so I figured if I'm going to be in school, I might as well pick something that interests me, and it'll allow me to be in school and pursue other things.
Olivia's involved in orientation. She has been from the beginning as a student. Then she became an orientation coordinator. She became an orientation color lead and an orientation coordinator. She's involved in honors and was on the student advisory board. She works at the library. She is involved in Student Government Association. She was the president of Omicron Delta Kappa. And she's in choir, and she's singing and music is one of her passions. She's exceptionally bright and committed to studies, and she loves music. She's not a music major, but she's been involved in choir since she was a freshman, and she loves to sing. She has a beautiful voice.
Sarah, above anybody else here at Western, knows me the best. She sees me day in and day out, but then also in some of my bigger pursuits and things that I have done here at Western. Everything from the Sweetheart Ball, through student government, through helping in some of my huge days of service and ODK, all the way up through being one of the orientation coordinators this past summer. She's seen it all. She's been there through all of it. So before I even started my journey as a student here at Western, I was on one of the wilderness-based orientation groups. My last day of that trip, I was climbing in Taylor Canyon when a 20-pound rock fell on me and fractured 6 of my ribs, my spine in 2 places, and punctured a lung. So I was helicoptered to Denver, and I missed all of orientation, which meant that I had to meet with Sarah Phillips upon returning to Western, and she got me settled in and connected me with resources all across campus. I got to meet some of the previous orientation leaders, and I found myself really connected really quickly with the lead program and the orientation program. So when applications opened up the following, I guess it would be the spring, I was able to apply and I became an orientation leader, which led me into working for lead and then doing orientation again and again. And through the whole process, I got to work alongside Sarah Phillips. So from my very first day at Western and through the past 4 years of my experience, I've been seeing Sarah day in and day out.
It was obvious to recommend Olivia for the award. The thing that stands out for me the most is her commitment towards inclusion and making Western a place for everyone.
I think it's one thing to be really busy and involved with a lot of things, and it's another thing to be involved and actually put your heart into it and put your time and energy into it. It's not that you're involved to have it on a resume per se, but you're involved because it's what you care about. And that's something I really admired about Sarah and something that I have tried to take on as well. That yes, you can be involved in a lot of things, but make sure that you're doing it from your heart.
Olivia's taught me a lot. First and foremost, she reminds us all to put people first. Work can't happen if people aren't feeling included and a part of something greater. And so put energy towards that, even if it takes a little bit longer, and then the next steps easily follow. Olivia's awesome. She's fun. She's graceful. She's eloquent. She's kind. She's the best.
Sarah, thank you for believing in me and giving me the tools to do everything that I wanted to do. I've had some pretty interesting and ambitious ideas, from the pheromone party to making a 5-day event, an online event through social media. No matter what I'm doing, you've always believed in me and treated me like an equal, which is something I really value. You never saw me as just a student or somebody who's learning or maybe not as capable. You believed in me and gave me the freedom to run and try whatever I wanted to do. So for that, I am forever thankful. So it is a huge honor to be recognized, but I also want to make sure that the people who got me here, such as my family and all my other supporters, are also recognized too. It's kind of like a team award instead of just a me award.
I'm Dr. Kate Clark, and I'm the Director of the Environment and Sustainability Program. I recommended Max for so many reasons. It was actually only pretty recently that I had him in a class of my own, but his reputation has preceded him all over campus. He's the ideal model for an award like this. He demonstrates excellence in everything he does, and he especially stands out for service to other students. I've never seen Max jump on an opportunity without prioritizing benefits for other people.
I nominated Dr. Kate Clark. She's the undergraduate director for the School of Environment and Sustainability. She's also the Organics Guild faculty mentor and the new director for the Center for Cold Climate Food Security. Kate's an amazing professor, always very willing to help students with anything they ask for, whether it's a conversation or help with a project, even stuff outside her own department. It's always fantastic to work with Dr. Clark. I can think of 2 projects that really stand out for me in the past year or so, actually. The first being my team's capstone project from last spring. We had the opportunity to work with Dr. Jeff Sellen to redesign the Colorado Water Workshop and turn it into the Western Water Futures Games. And we had an amazing team of students working on that in the spring. And then the other project that I'm really excited about is all the work we've done at the Organics Guild, both in the Pinnacles Greenhouse and the Chipeta Garden over the last year or so.
Max has served on the Organics Guild for his entire time here at Western. He's taken on so many different roles, but one thing that really stands out to me is his behind-the-scenes work, the way that he nurtures and develops the club in ways that are sometimes not so visible to other students. Maybe more than any other student I've worked with, Max is constantly supporting and developing other students. For example, when he took ENVS 400 with me last year, he was taking on a giant semester-long project, ambitious in its own right. But that wasn't enough for Max. He also served as a critical advisor for 2 other capstone groups. One example of how Max has played a critical role in opening up new space for other students at Western is through the creation of the Western Water Channel. He was one of the founding members, and it's just been an incredible student-driven initiative, opening up space for professional development, connecting with folks in the industry, and applying what water emphasis students are learning in the classroom.
Taking classes in the School of ENVS has opened up a lot of different opportunities for me. It's made me realize where my passions lie. I didn't know I was as interested in land management or water resource management as I was until I took courses in the School of ENVS, specifically with Dr. Jeff Sellen and his water policy course, which led to a group of highly motivated students forming a club on campus completely dedicated to water resources and water resource management. And that's really become something that I've factored into a lot of the different projects I work on, and something that I think will influence me post-graduation.
I'd say that he will change the world. I can't wait to see him 10 years from now, 20 years from now. We'll remember Max for decades to come.
I think a big lesson that I've learned both from Kate and from my time at Western is seize any opportunity that comes your way, and that'll lead you great places. Kate, thank you for everything you've taught me over the past few years, all the help you've given me on projects. I'd like to extend a thank you on behalf of probably all the students in the EVS department. I know all the students that are part of Organics Guild would like to thank you for all the work that you do to help out them and their projects and help them achieve success.
My name is Sadie Ferris, and I am double majoring in English and politics and government, and I have a minor in pre-law, and I'll also have a professional writing certificate. Dr. King calls her a quiet assassin because she approaches high-stress situations with poise and dazzles with her level of preparedness. A quiet assassin. Nice. Probably because I am always really quiet in class, but I guess doing mock trial and Model UN, I kind of found my voice.
My name is Dr. Struble, and I teach politics and government at Western. So Sadie is, she was involved with being a TA for mock trial this year, and she was on Model United Nations, right? So both of these activities take a really keen intellect, but they also take a very keen leadership sense. And so Sadie on Model United Nations, for example, was paired with someone who was a first-time student on the team. precisely because I could count on her being able to explain, guide, mentor this person without losing the sense of respect for that other student's capabilities. That sense of collaboration and respect for what the other person has to bring is something that is just innate. And what's more, as a member of SGA, on mock trial, on Model United Nations, she always seeks opportunities to perfect that. And she puts herself in situations that are difficult, makes speeches, sponsoring bills. She was the representative on Faculty Senate this year. These are high-stress environments for a student, and she thrives, and it pushes her to really step up her sense of commitment and to reevaluate what does it mean to be a part of this community.
So I am a senator for student government. I'm also one of the student representatives on Faculty Senate, and I competed on mock trial for 2 years. The second year I was a team captain, and I've been on Model UN. This was my second year this past conference a couple weeks ago. The biggest thing I would say is our position papers. So there's all the different committees that you would have in the actual UN, depending on what country you get assigned. You'll sit on a specific number of committees based on how big your team is. And so we had to take a position as Greece. So you have to give a brief overview of what the UN has done, what your country's done, what you think should be done now. And it's a really neat experience, something that I feel like is super unique to be able to do, especially my undergrad.
The curiosity that she has for the world is just really contagious, and she has the respect of her classmates and her professors to a profound degree. She's cool as a cucumber when she is asked to speak in public and present but that's because she is always super prepared. She doesn't have to wing it. She just knows her stuff, and she's someone who pushes me to be better. I think sometimes students aren't comfortable identifying strengths of their own. And that's where I come in, and I look at Sadie and I say, you're an amazing writer. You think way beyond the obvious. You have a theoretical mind that is as sharp as a razor, and you like this stuff. Why aren't you a politics major? And she would look at, I don't know. And then I just translate the major into terms that students find less scary.
I mean, I'd love it if I could thank her for all of the things that I've said so far, and there's probably things that I'm not even remembering in this moment. But she is such a humble person that I think sometimes she doesn't think that she is necessarily deserving of all of this thanks and appreciation that she gets, but she is deserving of all of it. I guess in a general sense, if I could thank her for one thing, it would be for kind of opening that doorway that led me to find what I am truly passionate about.
So my name is Dr. Lindsay Fast. I go by Lindsay, and my PhD is in social psychology with a specialization in health. I mostly teach upper level psychology courses, so the rare occasion that I actually get to teach a general psychology introductory course and find someone like Gabriel in his very first semester of college is an awesome opportunity.
It means a lot to me, someone who's down on your level, because sometimes you see a professor, someone who's way up here, and you think, or maybe they treat you or you think you're down here. And so Lindsay was always makes you right here. It's self-explanatory. She said, don't call me Dr. Fast ever. My name is Lindsay,
He studied abroad with me in Hawaii, so 3-week adventure. He was one of the 3 youngest underage individuals on the trip, never had to worry about him. So just in the sense of maturity, he's got an unbelievable head on his shoulders.
Things that really impacted me, though, was my ability to travel through Western. Because I talked about Lindsay's extended studies cultural psychology class in Hawaii, but I went to the Black Solidarity Conference in Yale, and so it was a 2-day conference in February for Black History Month, and to go to those sessions, and be surrounded by so many Black PhDs, that changed my life. Going to that conference and being able to just to learn, you know, and just meet and network with different people, that was super cool. And then through Asian Pacific Islanders Club, we made our own trip to be able to do a cultural tour in Houston. And so like traveling to those 3 places, I think just mentally and like emotionally, I learned a lot. Those really impacted me, just opportunities that Western has given, like outside of the school, like through the school.
Awards like this in general, I think, are strange just because it requires people to do a massive amount of labor in order to see that somebody who deserves to be recognized is recognized. Those tiny little moments, those tiny little accolades, they may seem like not a lot to the rest of us, but in the end, I think it does mean something because we had to go out of our way to make sure he gets this, you know. So, worth my time. I am sitting here in front of a camera on a Saturday for Gabriel. This should say enough about him. Is that I think that he will be all about the experience of it. Rather than cut, dry facts, you know, learning shouldn't be about memorization.
I think my second year or first year of college, but I came up with this dream of building my own school. So I learned a little bit about psychology, obviously, and how learning could be a lot more efficient and exciting. And I remember growing up being really young and I loved going to school. And I just wanted to figure out why that changes from being enjoyable to just not enjoyable for like high schoolers and middle schoolers, really. And so my big goal is to be able to build my own school where I could like establish curriculum. And I really want to make it more fun, but also more practical. She's really just taught me to pursue what you love in life, and if you want to get somewhere, just take the steps to be there, but don't be too hard on yourself, you know? Things work out, whether it's what you want it to work out to be or whether it's something else that happens to be a better plan for you.
So if I have it my way, which I tell students all the time, my dream for you and your dream for you do not have to be the same thing, right? Your dream for you is the most important. So where do I want to see Gabriel 5 years from now? In graduate school. What is he pursuing? That's still up to him to decide. 10 years from now, my dream is that he makes 6 figures a year as an IO psychology business consultant. Really, where do I want him to be? Happy. That's it.
My name is Hannah Norling, and I studied politics and history here with an emphasis in global studies and a minor in Latin American studies. I think politics really opened up like a lot of doors for me to see like there's so many other jobs and opportunities that I can like impact communities that I care about, and then history allowed me to like feel confident and like I know what I'm doing kind of thing. A lot of times I think people see history as something that like happened and you can just keep your PowerPoint for 30 years and you don't have to change it. But it is an ongoing study that stuff does change. Like sometimes you find a new artifact or something that might change something, but also the way we can study people and our understanding of people changes over time. And so that's going to change the way like we see the past.
So I'm Dr. Heather Thiessen-Riley. I'm a professor of history here at Western. Hannah appeared in fall 2018 in my Latin American Studies survey. She was so engaged and thoughtful from the very first assignment. She struck me as being, oh, this is somebody I would really like to recruit into the history program, right? She clearly had an interest in Latin America because she started taking a couple other classes with me, and then I was just overjoyed when she said she wanted to add the double major, and not only the double major in history, but also the Latin American Studies minor. And so she was in my environmental history of the borderlands. She was in my Latin American revolutions class. And, you know, she just brought such a light into class.
Dr. Thiessen-Riley, I feel like was somebody who definitely always just wanted to see like kind of what I wanted to do. Okay, like what are you interested in doing? What's another thing that you might be passionate about? And so I think for her to like always just ask it and like leave it open like that allowed me to explore it not only like in the classroom, but also on Western's campus in general.
One of Hannah's greatest strengths is that it's always the question and answering the question that drives her, I think, intellectually. She would read about something and then she would be able to create a question about it. And I think one of the other things too that made me feel really confident in recommending her was, You know, this last year has been so hard on students with COVID-19. And through it all, I never saw a change in Hannah's engagement, her commitment, her preparation. She handled everything with such grace when the rest of us couldn't. And that to me just really spoke to hear somebody who is more than just a good student. Here's somebody who's versatile and resilient, and no matter what is thrown at her, she is going to find a way to continue to make meaning and value and be engaged with the world.
One of my first clubs I got involved with was Operation Smile, which is a global nonprofit that provides cleft lip and cleft palate surgeries to people. And then they also work with doctors in countries to get access to like plastic surgery that does that. So they do teachings. And then their end goal is to remove themselves from those countries. So like places like Rwanda only had one plastic surgeon for the whole country. And so then they were able to go and help give resources to train people. So these surgeries that are like very easy to do, very inexpensive, a lot of times it's just a lack of resources with doctors. I joined Mock Trial, which does mock trials, and I was an attorney that year, so we got to like do a case that was on a murder, and we had to like either be the defendant or the prosecutor, and then you were the attorney for that, and you had to like interview witnesses, and you had to collect like testimonies and stuff, and then put it on in a courtroom, and we got to travel to the Springs for that in the spring. And then I also got involved with Women at Western that year as a like social media manager and marketer. And so we got to put on our big like Women Day celebration, which is March 8th. And so for that we had people come in and like we had people speak, and then we had people come and dance, and then we also had a career fair.
I think the world needs to be prepared for her because she is going to be taking all that knowledge of political theory and revolution and change, and she's going to bring that into whatever she does. And what I think she's going to experience in her future, near and far, is actually history of adventure class. And I think Hannah's going to have incredible adventures, and no matter what they are, she's going to be at the center of them.
My name's Tommy Yvonnie. At Western, I studied finance, economics, and computer science. When I first went to Western, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I actually started in entrepreneurship, the ICE program, and sort of quickly found that I didn't really want to start a company as much as I wanted just to figure out how they worked. And I thought finance is the way that companies really have to run, right? Every company's got a bottom line. And then quickly, knowing I wanted to get into finance, I realized I needed to have computer science to be ultra competitive there. And so sophomore year, I just randomly decided second semester to add a Python course, and Mark was teaching the Python course.
Yeah, so actually my undergraduate degree was in psychology, and I was going to go study neuroscience, and I worked in a neuroimaging lab. I was way more interested in the machines than I was the people and the brains. And so one of my colleagues said, yeah, you should study computer science. And so took a class, and here I am. I try to convince students, teach them to be producers of technology, not just consumers. We're really big on teaching students how to learn computer science. And so we try to give students the capacity and the skills to be able to learn anything that gets thrown at them in the future. Try to spend the majority of the class time actually practicing what they're going to do in the real world. And I think Tommy, he enjoys that part of it.
CS 370 is, what does he call it, systems in C. It's just really down to the metal code, and he loves that stuff. And basically that whole semester, that whole class was memorable because it was just me and my two buddies hammering out, 11 p.m., midnight, up in wherever, the library, Kelly, and just doing this crazy programs. And, he was super upfront about it, like, this is a crazy class and it's gonna be very difficult. What do they call it, I guess, like the filter class, right? Where if you can't really make it through that class, it's really tough to keep going in computer science. But if you make it through, you kinda, you have a good shot at making it through the program. So that was just the stereotypical fun class, almost like, I don't know, like basic training in the military or something, right? Like, all right, now you're gonna learn systems in C.
I recommend Tommy for the award. He's just a really hardworking student, and I want to recognize excellence where I see it in the classroom. Provides a good model for other students to kind of work towards that idea of hard work pays off. Tommy rises to the occasion. He loves the challenge. He's just a hard worker, and you give him anything, he gets it done. He's a great student to have in the classroom. Kind of wish I had him in every class.
So the reason I nominated Mark was, out of all the professors at Western, he really drilled home problem-solving skills and also accountability. And really, those are the two skills above and beyond hard skills and technical skills, more life skills, that I've applied most in a business setting. So my job is very much so small team size. Everyone is in charge of their own area, and you're just expected to deliver from your area. And that's kind of how Mark ran his classes. You have your homework assignments, you have your tests, and he's there as a resource, but you can't just go to him and say, hey, can you solve this for me? I have no idea. That would never fly. It'd be, hey, I've tried this for 3 hours. Here's X, Y, and Z I've tried. Now can you help me? That's when Mark engages. And literally that difference there was huge, because now whenever I come up with an issue in the business setting, my first thought is, okay, let's try to solve it 3 times first yourself. If you really can't solve it after that, then ask for help. And I can tell my team members really like that. I'm not just the new hire young kid who's coming in asking for help or people to feed him answers all day. I'm trying to go out and problem solve and build skills myself and actually apply them and become my own valuable team member. And that literally directly translates from what I learned from Mark. So that is the key reason why I chose to nominate him.
He took my machine learning class having only had 1 semester of programming. And so, he was chomping at the bit to learn how to use computer science to help make predictions in the world of finance. So he kind of gravitated towards that area of computer science, of data science and modeling. And so he and I chatted all the time about how AI is going to take over the world, essentially, of finance, and how, if he can build an algorithm that can do better than the best stockbroker, for instance. That's what he was really kind of after. He works really hard. Like I said, he's the epitome of what students should strive to be, right? It's 90% showing up, right? That's what it takes. Self-discipline, grit, hard work, right? There's no substitute for that.
The biggest lesson I learned from Mark is if you combine curiosity and problem solving, you can do anything you want.
My name is Angela Carroll. I'm in the accelerated 3+2 exercise sports science high altitude exercise physiology program. Well, my background is in early childhood education, and I taught young children and I studied human development. I think one of the first things that really inspired me is I was noticing correlations between body movement abilities and behavior and social development. Kind of this idea about the importance of movement and brain development.
I recommended Angie for this award along with Dr. Christina Buchanan, just for being an excellent student, for being innovative, creative, and someone that really makes the recreation outdoor education program shine. I had a 3-hour class that I taught, and for the first hour, we did West African drum and dance. It was a human development course, which was a little non-traditional, but it was amazing because the students showed up on time, they were engaged, they got exercise, they learned a new life skill, and then for the next 2 hours in class, they were highly involved, engaged, and it was just amazing just doing that before each class. And they started requesting it, wanting to do it, saying, we want to continue doing this. So yeah, so it's just been incredible to work with her.
Mark's really great. Mark is, he sees things in me that I don't see sometimes first. And so he's like, oh, you got to do this, and you should do that, and you should do these things, and he gets all excited, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do that. And he's like, yeah. So I love working with Mark. He definitely inspires me. He uplifts me and supports me constantly. He's like my number one cheerleader in this whole returning to school. We just have a ton of fun together. I think we work really well together. We bounce great ideas off each other, and he's really good at planting seeds that he knows I will turn into a garden.
Working with Angie has been really beneficial to me as a professor because she comes in with ideas that they're not only great ideas, but they're ideas that are far-reaching, so they help the entire campus. We've worked a lot with the Multicultural Center, the Black Student Alliance. We've put together quite a few programs for Black History Month. So it's been amazing, and she's allowed me to network in the West African arts community. So I provide support to her, guidance, sometimes advice, but it's really her that comes up with the ideas and sees them to fruition, or fruition, sorry. Must be hungry, I was thinking about fruit. But yeah, so it's just inspiring as a faculty member to be able to work with a student of her caliber.
Well, I selected Mark. He's actually never been one of my professors that I've had in this program. I knew him before coming to Western and was working with him before I came here, and he really is the one that got me to come back to school. Like, I don't even know if I would have ended up here without the push from him, where he kind of helped me see how this could be a great next step and to tie things together. And like I said, he saw before I did ways to tie all this together and implement new curriculum and to grow in this field and to bring the experience I have and take it to a next level.
The last thing I think I won was a box of Junior Mints at a raffle. So winning this it's an honor, and I appreciate that we actually have awards like this, and that that Angie recommended me for the award. So I'm definitely honored, and now I have to live up to it.
I think the biggest lesson I learned from Mark is to just go for it. I'd love to thank Mark just for cheering me on and pushing me to excel and believing in me and my abilities. I'm really, really grateful to have him as a colleague and a mentor, and as someone I hope to really continue to work with in the future.